Are the Oklahoma Sooners problems actually problems? We'll talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. My name is John Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. My buddy here is Josh Helmer. You can follow him on Twitter at JoshOnRef. You can also hear him Monday through Friday from 9 to noon on the KREF Sports app. Josh, we got a lot of lingering thoughts still from Oklahoma's win over the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, 66-17. But let's start with this one because it's the biggest talking point about a defense that had another strong performance. Is the coverage an issue? Because in that second quarter and really lingering into the third, they had a lot of coverage breakdowns, and Tulsa was able to take advantage of a couple of opportunities.
So I'm going to say something a little bit off the beaten path here. Maybe the coverage breakdowns obviously are the problem that you highlight, and we'll dive into that deeply here. But I would say each of the touchdown drives that Oklahoma gave up, John, it started with failures in the run defense department. And really, for the most part, Oklahoma's been very, very good there. But, going back and rewatching the Tulsa contest, there's a time or two, and this is, look, I'm not going to get too alarmed over it because you're going to give some things up defensively, whether it's the run game, the throw game. But there were a couple of times, like on the first or second drive for Tulsa, where I think Danny Stutzman looked like he overran something, and it turned into a 16, 17-yard game for Tulsa. And then the couple of drives that Tulsa stung Oklahoma for touchdowns, to me, it sort of started with the line of scrimmage, Oklahoma not being as good as they were throughout the rest of the game. But beyond that, the coverage itself, if you could tell me that Gentry Williams is going to be healthy and around, long term for Oklahoma, then I'm less concerned, right? Because the one coverage bust, I think it was Vickers, that got caught sort of peeking into the backfield, and then they went over the top of him. The other one would be more alarming, the coverage bust on Pearson, because hypothetically, that's one of the guys you're counting on to be a starting player for you, John, going forward. So are they big time problems going forward? I would err on the side of no, but they have my attention.
I see them as, okay, you're going to get beat from time to time. The Vickers one, I just chalked that one up to being a true freshman, getting a little undisciplined with his eyes and just overcommitting to and biting on the eye candy. That's what they call it, right? Eye candy. The stuff that's going to draw your attention, get you thinking about something when you should be thinking about the guy running by you. And again, I don't know if there was some expectation that he was going to have safety help over the top. It probably wouldn't have mattered because that safety help wasn't going to be able to get there in time anyway. But I just chalked that one up to a true freshman making a mistake in extended playing time. The Richie Pearson thing, I chalked that up to, hey, you went with an aggressive play call on defense and you got beat. That happens sometimes. You had, arguably maybe not your best coverage safety out there in a one-on-one situation, and he got beat. You got to give credit to Tulsa for that. They've got Division I athletes on their roster as well. They might not be as highly rated as some of the players that you have on yours if you're the Oklahoma Sooners, but still a good player. You're going to find them on Tulsa's roster, even if it's not as talented as Oklahoma's. And even if they're not as talented, you're still going to find opportunities where they're going to be able to take advantage of one-on-one matchups. That's just football. You want to put players in one-on-one situations and let your playmakers make plays. The guy ran a beautiful route that absolutely fooled Reggie Pearson. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But I don't think that that's something to be overly concerned about unless it becomes a trend, right? If you start seeing Emory Jones be able to take advantage of Reggie Pearson in the secondary, or name a safety, whether it's Key Lawrence or Billy Bowman or Peyton Bowen. If they start getting beaten a lot often in these one-on-one situations, then you might start having concerns. But if it's a one game, kind of one play, did it go for a touchdown? You don't want to give up touchdowns 100%. You don't like it. You go back, you try to correct it in the film room, on the practice field. You do what you can to rectify the situation, but it happens. You give up plays, but you've still only given up 28 points in 3 games, which is a really, really solid start to the season for the Oklahoma Sooners defense.
And we're talking about this in a game where Oklahoma came away with 5 interceptions. And I think it was actually Vickers that almost came up with a 6th interception early.
And Bowen almost had one too.
Yes. I mean, there's a couple of other instances where
Bowen almost had 2 actually.
So there you go. I mean, let's just make the counter 8 that it could have been for Oklahoma. I mean, obviously it was 5 and a couple of other opportunities out there to where OU was there to go make plays. So look, I'm just looking at what we saw and saying that in true coach speak fashion, no, it was not a perfect performance for Oklahoma. It's largely very, very good, but I'd like to see Oklahoma versus Cincinnati, Iowa State. Unfortunately, I just don't know that either of those give us a ton of answers until obviously the Red River Showdown. So I'm pretty convinced that this is definitely an improved defense, John. And I think even the coverage component, Oklahoma's pretty advanced in that regard in terms of they're more times than not in position to go make plays. And we're basically nitpicking over a couple of coverage busts. Again, I kind of came away from those drives looking at it and saying that the run defense, I want that to be a thing to stay for Oklahoma. I guess there's been, a couple of leaks there in those couple of drives versus Tulsa. And so for me, it's okay, how does that translate now going forward as things rev up? I still think Oklahoma's improved there. I think they're improved across the board. And unfortunately, it's just the process of this schedule, John, to where it's, okay, I'm going to sit here and exist a little bit in the universe of, I got to see more against teams that we just think a little bit more highly of.
Absolutely. And I think that's a fair place to be. You come out of the non-conference feeling really, really good about what you've seen, but there's still room for improvement. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think you're still a work in progress. The fact that you're a top 10 defense and a top 10 offense, that's a really nice place to be. You still have a lot to prove. I think the coaching staff believes that. I think the players believe that. You heard it echoed in the post-game, press conferences that this team is yet from a finished product and they've got a long way to go to be where they want to be. I don't think that that's just coach speak. I think they truly believe that. And honestly, to have those 2 drives and the third one in the third quarter where they just gave up a field goal, that's good for the team, honestly, mentally. Okay, maybe we checked out a little bit and we took our foot off the gas a little in the second quarter and allowed them to take advantage of some of that. Okay, that's on us. We got to stay locked in. We've got to hone in on the details every single drive. And again, you hate to see mental lapses or your guys get beat like that. But if you're a coaching staff, you almost welcome it in these situations, because then you can go into the film room, you can go into the meeting room and really highlight those areas, point at them, and then help everybody grow from that. That's not a bad thing to have. Obviously, you'd love the shutout and you're aiming for best is the best, but silver lining, you've got something to work on as you get ready for Cincinnati this week. We're going to talk about the running game coming up after the break, and then where Oklahoma and Texas landed in the polls and why that's such a big deal to the Big 12 after I talk to you all about our friends over at Betterhelp. Hey, if you're like me, you often can find yourself with a little bit of insomnia because you're just weighing all of life's decisions and the things that are going on during the day. I, for one, I'm a bit of a people pleaser. And so if I've offended somebody, especially someone close to me, it can keep me up at night. Well, that's why you need to check out BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an opportunity for you to talk to somebody on your schedule, all online, in a way that meets your needs. And it gives you the opportunity to talk through all of life's choices, or even just through the ways that you go through your relationships and go about your relationships. You can go to betterhelp.com. It's a great place to, again, find someone to talk to that is going to help you just work through the stuff that life throws at us. Therapy gives you a place to do that so you can get out of your negative thought cycles, whether it's just decision making or, again, just struggling with relationships. However you find yourself just needing to find someone to talk to, that's BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. So just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. So visit betterhelp.com/lockedoncollege today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedoncollege to get 10% off your first month. Again, BetterHelp. Get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Josh, the running game for the Oklahoma Sooners is something that's become a significant talking point through the non-conference schedule. The offense has looked fantastic. When they've opened things up, when they've allowed the passing game to dictate the flow of the offense, I mean, it's been near unstoppable. But when the running game has kind of been the focal point, it's been kind of hit or miss.
And obviously, because of the injuries to Barnes and to Sawchuk, it's been a bit of a revolving door as we've orchestrated our way through these first 3 games and, throughout camp before that. So that's been a little bit of a wrench, I think, into the running game operation to start the season for Oklahoma. But, you almost say that and you say, okay, well, is that an excuse? Probably not, because though it's games 1, 2, and 3, you expect that with running backs, right? It's just the wear and tear of that position. But, I again, maybe this is not something that others would say out there. I think operationally, Oklahoma can do a better job with how they're going about managing the run game. I'd like to see a little bit more north and south. I think there's a little bit too much misdirection to me in the run game. I go back and, watch the tape versus Tulsa. And I know that that's a component of the Levy offense. You're going to have a lot of motioners and, obviously every action leads to, a different piece of the pass game or the run game. But every once in a while, just run a halfback dive and let Javonte Barnes in this offensive line, just let those guys go win from the point of attack. And it doesn't have to always be super complex. Same thing with Sawchuk or Smothers or whoever that week. If it's Tawi Walker, Major, to me, I think that there's a little bit, it's not that it's too complex for the players out there executing it, John. I just think there's too much going on. I think you can just simplify it and just go run the football at times.
Yeah, just ask your guy to beat the guy in front of you on the offensive line and create a hole and go. I think, you look back to like DeMarco Murray, the time when he thrived with Oklahoma's offense, and even with the Dallas Cowboys, it was just a lot of zone blocking scheme where you're just getting downhill or you're going, off tackle, you're going wide, and then you're just finding the hole in the offensive line. You're not necessarily looking for, the guards pulling around. You're just getting downhill fast and then finding the hole and go. I do think there's a little bit of that, but I do think some of it is the herky-jerky nature with which they deployed their running backs to start the season. It's hard to get into a flow. And running back is a position that you kind of need to be out there to get a feel for what's going on in the game. And I do think, getting all of these carries for Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk in this game, I think that's going to be beneficial and helpful. Will that mean that they have really productive weeks this week? Not necessarily, because they're going to go against a really good Cincinnati defensive front. But I do think it's going to help set them up in the long run where they can be a little bit more productive, more efficient. Now, Javonte Barnes had one really, really good run, ended up averaging 5.2 yards per carry. But you take away the big, I think it was a 17-yard run that he had, and he's still, having a fairly efficient day. Ran for 68 yards and a touchdown on 13 attempts. To me, otherwise solid. He had 3 runs of 10 yards or more. 2 runs of 15 yards or more. He had 3.54 yards after contact, ran for 5 first downs. So, I mean, it was a solid day for Javonte Barnes, in my opinion. If you give him 20 carries, he probably breaks 100 yards. So I think the running game has been okay. It's not been great. It's not been, Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, and it's probably not even been what we expected coming into the season, but I think it's been okay. if you allow your passing game to be the focal point of your offense and you use the pass to set up the run, I think it could be even more efficient. But if teams come into it looking to stop the run so that you're forced to pass, well, by all means, let Dylan Gabriel, who's completing over 80% of his passes, sling the football.
There's fewer better ways to go win on the road than being able to lean on the run game too. Taking care of the football and just eliminating, outside of obviously the football getting punched out, or, if you take care of the football running it, it eliminates, tipped football at the line of scrimmage turns into an interception, right? A bad decision over them. I mean, it can simplify some things for you on the road when you start going to Cincinnati and on and on and on. Oklahoma State doesn't look altogether intimidating, but a trip to Kansas, a trip to BYU, the Red River game, right? If you want to just go ahead and call that a road game too, you'd like to see Oklahoma get the run game squared away, just because sometimes it's just nice to be able to turn and hand off and to not have to get, altogether, to just be very kind of mundane, for lack of a better word. And that's okay to be mundane and just lean on the run game. I don't think Oklahoma's at a place right now where they can comfortably do that, John. So obviously that needs to improve, and let's hope it happens this week versus Cincinnati. Again, I think there's a number of contributing factors to it. The revolving door, yes, at running back. I think the offensive line, of course, is culpable in this. They've got to elevate there. I think the types of plays that they're calling in the run game, John, is a part of the problem for Oklahoma too. So, yeah, they've got to get it squared away. Is it horribly rotten? No, it's not. But is it up to the Oklahoma standard? No, it's not that either.
It's not, but I think it's going to get better. It's going to be really fascinating to watch this week at left guard in particular. It sounds like Savion Byrd's going to be out potentially for some time with a concussion. So maybe we're seeing Caden Green, the true freshman at left guard, who played a lot against Tulsa this past Saturday. He's got great size. He's an athletic player. He's going to be able to move some people inside. I think that's going to be really, really intriguing to watch how he plays against Cincinnati. This is going to be one of your stars on the offensive line of the future. The future is now for Caden Green. How it impacts this week will be one of the keys to the game for the Oklahoma Sooners. But also, I like we can call Drake Stoops a wide receiver. He is that. But the way that they're using him, again, is an extension of the running game. Those quick passes, screens, wide receiver flare outs, all that. It's an extension of the running game. You're throwing it at or behind the line of scrimmage, and you're hoping that your guy's going to go make a play. That's the same thing you're doing when you're turning and handing it off. You're throwing it, or you're turning around behind the line of scrimmage, handing it off, and hoping that your offensive line and your running back's going to make a play. It's similar, like low risk, potentially high reward style of play. But again, I go back to with the way that Dylan Gabriel's throwing the ball, I'm not necessarily concerned about the running game. However, I want to see them be able to lean on it in the third and fourth quarter when they want to close out a football game. That's when, to me, it's the most critical, is being able to kill clock and keep the other team's offense from getting on the field to try and play catch up when you do get a lead.
How much of this for Oklahoma is we got to figure out left guard? I mean, you mentioned Savion Byrd. Do you chalk up a lot of it to that? Let me run down these numbers for you real quick too. The snaps breakdown. Obviously, we talked about you're now moving forward, at least initially, minus Savion Byrd potentially, right? I mean, it looks that way. And so you got Troy Everett had 37 snaps. Caden Green saw 32. Sexton had 28. So, you divvied it up a good bit out there. Taylor had 10 snaps. So there's Schaefer had 10 on Saturday. So you got a lot of snaps in other places for Oklahoma, but how much, is it just a collective thing? Do you toss on left guard and it needs to get strained out for OU?
It's something they got to get better at, and they have to find some consistency there. Against SMU, you had to play both Savion Byrd and Troy Everett due to performance. But this past weekend, it was, okay, Savion Byrd goes down. Now you got to start rotating guys in to figure out, okay, what are we going to do at left guard in the future? Again, I kind of hope that it's Savion Byrd that takes that, or it's not Savion, that it's Caden Green that takes over, because it shows you he's earned the right and the opportunity to to play significant snaps for this team. But I think you've got a nice solid option in Troy Everett and Caleb Schaefer, who are both veteran options that you can go to if in the event Caden Green's not really ready to play full time at the collegiate level just yet. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to prove to be ready to go, and he's going to be an impact player. But if they can help, improve the play at offense along the offensive line, along the interior in particular, it'll help elevate the run game.
The commissioner of the Big 12, do we need to check in on his mental well-being? We'll chat about that. First, your game changer of the week, it's brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Much like, I don't know, how about a Nick Anderson offensively? A little bit of a game changer. We were waiting for one of these big wide receivers. I'll even throw a little bit of respect on our man Jaden Gibson's name. He had one of the best catches on Saturday. I know the production wasn't, what it obviously was 3 touchdowns, 3 grabs for Anderson, but that was a nice sign for Gibson as well. But Athletic Brewing, just like those two, they're game changers, and they've completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. They've got up to 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, golden, sours, and more. And they're constantly in the lab inventing, creating new, terrific non-alcoholic beers, again, that taste good. So you want to check that out. And as I always say, no hangovers ever, which you just can't beat that, everybody. So you can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you, or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. It's a little bit of an Oklahoma, Texas curtain call party right now. Obviously, Kansas State over the course of this weekend, they go up to Columbia, Missouri. They lose to the Tigers. They did us no favors in the potential flip of one Williams-Nwaneri, though I don't know. Maybe that'll be good on the bricks front for Oklahoma, so take your pick there. But with Kansas State's loss, they go tumbling out of the rankings, which means it's just OU and Texas in the rankings. And I don't know that anybody in the Oklahoma contingent, in the Texas contingent, in the Oklahoma fan base, in the Texas fan base is altogether concerned about the well-being of one Brett Yormark. But here's your sign, Brett Yormark.
Yeah, there's a lot of people having a lot of fun at Brett Yormark's expense today on Twitter in response to OU and Texas being the only ones out. I mean, I've said it before, Brett Yormark's job as the Big 12 commissioner is to promote the future of the league and to promote the teams that are going to be a part of the future of the league. So I totally get where he's coming from. However, when you're out there saying things with your chest, and then it turns out that the 2 teams that are the blue blood programs that are leaving your conference are the only teams ranked, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of the fan backlash in collegiate football. That's just the way collegiate football goes, right? We're going to jump on every little bit of it. So Brett Yormark going to have to eat a little bit of crow for all that. But Oklahoma moves up in the USA Today USLBM coaches poll from, I think they were 16 before, now they're 14. And in the AP top 25 from 19 to 16. So, steady rising right now. Still a lot to prove on both sides of the football. You prove it every single week, and you will find yourself where you need to be to potentially be a college football playoff contender at the end of the season. But you're going to have to keep proving it on the field.
So if Oklahoma, and I think there's a chance they win both convincingly, John, definitely I think the second one, they're winning convincingly over Iowa State. But I think, again, Cincinnati maybe knocked on the door and said, hey, these we're the real Bearcats, and we're not all that great. That might have shown up this past weekend, a reminder to everyone. They fooled us maybe in the blink of an eye versus Pittsburgh, but reminded us very quickly. So there's a chance that Oklahoma goes out, takes care of its business twice leading up to the Texas game. Sooners going to be in the top 10 when we play in the Cotton Bowl.
Man, it's going to be so tough because there's a lot of teams in front of them that are still pretty good. And you just don't know who's going to who's going to falter. And if they falter, like I haven't looked at the schedules for everybody in the top 13 or whatever, but there's a chance. But I think that they'd have to go out and be really, really impressive these next 2 weeks, kind of do like they did in non-conference and just route Cincinnati and Iowa State, which I think it's very possible that they go and completely blow the doors off of Iowa State in Norman and maybe do the same against Cincinnati. Yes, I thought Cincinnati was going to be one of the better teams in the conference after they beat Pitt. Well, then West Virginia went and beat Pitt. And you're like, okay, so maybe that Pitt team is just not very good this year. So the Bearcats, who knows? They've got a quarterback that can cause problems with his legs so much that he could end up causing problems with his arm, but also he can throw some turnovers. He's been turnover prone his collegiate career. We'll see how that translates this next weekend. Oklahoma's showing, hey, we're going to go out there and attack the football. We're going to create some turnovers ourselves. So I think Cincinnati is going to have an advantage up front along the defensive line, but I think Oklahoma is going to be better than them everywhere else.
Cincinnati also now coming in sporting that overtime L. So we'll see.
To Miami of Ohio.
Yeah. Not a great loss.
Yeah. Were there any other things that happened over the rest of the weekend, like that just really took you by surprise? Or, if you look at, some of the losses in the Big 12, I mean, Iowa State's definitely up there. The Oklahoma State loss to South Alabama, like that, I mean, absolutely shocking. Really, not just that they lost, but how badly they lost.
Just inept offensively, 33-7, and got housed at home. I'll give you and I a little bit of a pat on the back here. We've been preparing the masses, and not in just some big bedlam ha-ha, but we've kind of told you Oklahoma State was not positioned to be very good this season. You lost your quarterback. That was, say what you want to say about Mr. Sanders, but that's a solid Big 12 quarterback, solid Power 5 quarterback. He exits, you replace with somebody in Bowman that really has never been able to stay healthy, and in the process of that has not shown us that he can consistently play good football. And now these other two options, Rangel and Gundy, neither one look like the answer at Oklahoma State. They lost some skilled talent. They lost other players along the way. This is a bad Oklahoma State football team, I think, right now, John. So, yeah, that surprising that it's as lopsided as it was, but then again, I'm not surprised that Oklahoma State is one of the worst teams in this league right now. That's what I expected going in.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what Mike Gundy does to right this ship, because I don't think there's going to be an answer this year. There's no in-season transfer portal. There's no trade market that he can go get a quarterback in, and I think that's going to be a problem for them all season long. Can they fix it in the offseason to get them back into contendership? What if Dana Holgerson gets fired up from Houston? Is that a reunion that Mike Gundy and Holge would like to get back together and figure out Oklahoma State's offense? Because when Oklahoma State's been at its best, it's had a great offense. You can go back to the Brandon Whedon days where they were really, really good. They were contending for the Big 12 regularly, or at least putting themselves in a position in November to contend. It's when they had that elite offense. They just haven't had that. And here's a question I want to pose, and we can tease it for our next show, Josh, and I think it's going to be a really interesting one. Now that we've got 3 weeks of football to look back on, how do we feel about Oklahoma's schedule the rest of the way? Because I think we had one thought of it preseason. Now that we've got a little bit of information for us, I think it'll be good to go through that again and just see, okay, now that we're getting ready for Big 12 play, what's the rest of the schedule look like? And so we'll do that on the next episode of Locked On Sooners, as well as touch on everything that comes out of the offensive and defensive coordinator coaching press conferences on Monday and get you ready for Cincinnati this week. Follow Josh on Twitter at JoshOnRef. Myself is at John9Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We'll be here Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. Stay tuned. Check us out. Make us your first listen every single day. But until next time, he's Josh Helmer. I'm John Williams. Boomer Sooner.